I thought I was just going to work a regular double shift, serve a few lattes, clear a few tables, and get back home to my daughter before the babysitter charged me overtime. I was a single dad, just trying to make it work, juggling a morning shift at the diner and a graveyard shift as a security guard. Sleep was a luxury, not a necessity. What I didn't expect was to be the only person in the entire high-end restaurant to stand up to Eleanor Vance, the female billionaire who had a reputation that preceded her like a bad odor. She's the kind of person who could make grown men cry and had the whole staff literally trembling, running away from her table like their lives depended on it. But I didn't run. I stood my ground, a tired waiter with rent due, and in front of a dining room full of millionaires and executives. I told the most powerful woman in the city that her behavior was unacceptable. The silence in that room was so thick you could carve it. So, let me ask you straight up, was I wrong for putting my job on the line, for risking my family's stability, just to tell a rude, powerful woman that she needed a lesson in common decency? Tell me if you would have done the same thing. You need the full context, right? It all started about 6 months ago when I picked up a second job at the Pinnacle, one of those exclusive restaurants downtown. I wasn't serving the $1.50 burgers at the local diner anymore. This was white tablecloth, $300 steak, 2 forks on the table kind of place. The pay was great, the tips were astronomical, and honestly, I needed every penny of it. My ex-wife had moved out of state, and suddenly, it was just me and my little girl, Lily. She's 7, all bright eyes and a laugh that sounds like wind chimes, and she deserves the world, even if her dad's world is 2 shifts and 4 hours of sleep. My manager, a perpetually stressed-out guy named Julian, warned everyone about the Great Whale, which was their terrible, whispered nickname for Eleanor Vance. She was the CEO of Vance Global Tech, inherited the company from her father, and had the kind of money that could buy and sell our restaurant 10 times over. Julian's instructions were simple: avoid eye contact, nod, say yes, ma'am, and for God's sake do not, under any circumstances, anger her. He told us she'd gotten 3 people fired in the last year alone, simply for correcting her wine choice or taking too long to bring the bread basket. It was a rule of survival at the Pinnacle. Eleanor Vance gets what Eleanor Vance wants, no matter how unreasonable. The night in question started out fine. It was a busy Friday, the kind of night where the kitchen is screaming and you're running on pure adrenaline. Lily was with Mrs. Rodriguez, my amazing neighbor, and I kept picturing her drawing pictures at the kitchen table, which always gave me a little boost. Around 8:00 p.m., Julian's face went white. He grabbed my arm so hard I winced. She's here, table 5, God help us all. And there she was. Eleanor Vance. She didn't look like a cartoon villain, just an impeccably dressed woman in a suit that probably cost more than my car, with sharp, cold eyes and an expression of perpetual annoyance. She was dining with 3 other people, business associates, I guessed, all of whom looked equally terrified of her. Julian was visibly shaking as he approached the table. He took the drink orders, literally bowing his head. He came back to the service station with a bead of sweat on his forehead. She sent back the sparkling water because the bubbles were too aggressive. That was the first sign. Everyone knew what was coming. The next hour was a masterclass in passive-aggressive terror. One waiter brought the wrong side dish, a simple mix-up of truffle fries for roasted potatoes, and Vance didn't even speak. She just picked up a single potato with her fork, looked at the waiter with a blank stare that somehow felt like pure acid, and dropped it back onto the plate with a heavy, deliberate clink. The poor guy looked like he was going to vomit. Julian had to comp their entire appetizer course just to smooth things over. When the next waiter, a young college kid named Marcus, who needed the money for tuition, accidentally spilled a tiny drop of water while refilling a glass, Vance didn't yell. She did worse. She let out a small, condescending sigh, pulled a crisp $100 bill from her purse and threw it at him. Clean that up and take the money as severance. I don't need a clumsy child serving my table. Marcus was nearly in tears, and Julian had to intervene, ushering him away. The message was loud and clear. You are disposable. Your job is a privilege I can revoke on a whim. This is where I get involved. Marcus's shift was technically over, but he was distraught, and Julian sent him home. That table, table 5, was now without a server. Julian looked at the remaining staff, his eyes pleading. Someone has to take table 5, just for the main course, please. Every single server suddenly found an urgent task. One was polishing silver, where that was already clean. Another was hiding in the walk-in fridge, and a third pretended to be on the phone with a medical emergency. They were terrified, and honestly, I couldn't blame them. But I had a daughter whose tuition fund looked awfully thin, and that $300 steak tip was probably already mentally allocated to a new pair of shoes for Lily. I took a deep breath, straightened my vest, and said, I'll do it, Julian. I'll take table 5. Julian looked at me with a mix of gratitude and pity, like I was walking to my doom. I approached the table, keeping my expression neutral, my voice low and professional. Good evening. My name is Alex, and I'll be taking care of you for the main course. Vance didn't look up. She was scrolling on her phone, one hand propped under her chin, ignoring my existence entirely. One of her associates mumbled a quick thank you. I started to clear the appetizer plates, working quickly and efficiently. Then it happened. I reached for a small dish near her elbow, and she suddenly slammed her phone down right where my hand was moving. Not on it, but close enough to make me jerk back. I'm not finished with that, she snapped, not even looking at me, her tone dripping with contempt. It was a clear, deliberate intimidation tactic. I paused, keeping my hands clasped in front of me. My apologies, ma'am, I was just clearing the empty dishes. She finally looked up, her gaze icy. And I was speaking. Learn your place, waiter. She pronounced the word with a sneer, as if I were something she'd scraped off her shoe. Her associates shifted uncomfortably in their seats. I bit back a sharp reply, the thought of Lily flashing in my mind. Don't lose the job, don't lose the job, I simply said, understood, the rest of the table's empty dishes. She waved a dismissive hand, went back to her phone and kept me waiting there, standing stock, still like a statue, for a full minute before she finally muttered, fine, just hurry. I cleared the plates and headed to the kitchen. My blood was boiling. It wasn't just the rudeness. It was the sheer cruelty of it, the enjoyment she seemed to take in making people feel small. Julian met me at the door. What happened? He whispered, his eyes wide. She was just being Vance, I sighed. I've got the orders ready. Can you run the food? He shook his head. No, we can't let her think we're afraid of her. You need to keep up the appearance that you're her dedicated server. It's an ego thing. I carried the 4 plates out. Each one was a perfect presentation, filet mignon, asparagus spears, and a small quenelle of mashed potatoes. As I set the plates down, I noticed something. Vance's associate, a nervous-looking man in a gray suit, had a plate with a slightly smaller portion of asparagus. It was negligible, but I had noticed it. Vance, however, decided to make it a capital offense. She looked at her plate, then at the man's plate, then back at hers, a theatrical frown spreading across her face. Excuse me, she said, her voice low and dangerous. I leaned in, ready for the inevitable complaint. My asparagus count is lower than Mr. Henderson's. This is unacceptable. Do you think I'm paying this exorbitant price for fewer vegetables? I blinked, genuinely stunned. This was a new level of petty. Ma'am, I assure you, all portions are. She cut me off, slapping her hand hard on the table. The glasses rattled. I don't care what you assure me of. I see the evidence in front of me. Take this back and bring me a new plate with exactly the same number of spears as his. And if you make a mistake again, I'll be speaking to the owner. The restaurant was quiet now, everyone was watching. The entire staff watching from the service station collectively held their breath. Julian looked like he was about to faint. I picked up her plate. Now, this is the moment where every single person in that restaurant would have just done what she asked. They would have scurried back to the kitchen, apologized profusely, and returned with a plate piled high with asparagus. That's what I should have done, but as I walked away, a surge of pure, exhausted frustration hit me. I thought of Marcus, humiliated over a drop of water. I thought of all the times I'd had to swallow my pride for the sake of a paycheck. I thought of Lily and the simple dignity I wanted to teach her, the dignity of standing up for yourself and for others. This woman wasn't just rude. She was a bully who used her wealth as a weapon to make service workers feel worthless. She didn't need more asparagus, she needed a reality check. So that's the situation I was in. I was standing in the kitchen, holding a billionaire's plate of perfectly cooked steak and an asparagus portion that was one spear short of the man next to her. I had the choice to be a good employee and bow to the tyrant, or I could be a good man and risk everything. Before I tell you what happened next, I want you to pause and comment below what you would have done in my shoes. Would you have played the game and swallowed your anger, or would you have stood firm and faced the inevitable firing? I took a deep breath that rattled in my chest. I set the plate down on the prep counter, and the line cooks looked at me like I was a ghost. "Alex, what are you doing? Just get the asparagus," one of them hissed. I shook my head slowly. No, no more. I walked back out to the dining room, empty-handed. I walked straight up to table 5, and every eye followed me. I placed my hands on the edge of the table, leaning in just a fraction so my voice would carry but remain calm and controlled. Eleanor Vance looked up, a triumphant smirk already playing on her lips, clearly expecting a groveling apology. "Ms. Vance," I began, my voice steady, though my heart was hammering against my ribs. "I did not bring your plate back to the kitchen, and I will not be doing so." Her smirk vanished. The air froze. Her associates stared at me, their mouths agape. "Excuse me," she demanded, her voice rising for the first time. "Did you just refuse a direct instruction?" I refused an unreasonable instruction. I corrected her gently. "I have worked in service for 10 years. Every dish that left that kitchen was perfectly portioned. You are unhappy with your dish not because of a mistake, but because you are attempting to assert your dominance and treat the people who serve you with disrespect. You humiliated my colleague Marcus for a drop of water, and you nearly injured me by slamming your phone down. We are here to provide excellent service, and we do so with professionalism. We are not here to endure abuse and petty tyranny." The silence that followed was immense. You could hear the distant clink of a fork from across the room. But at our table, there was only the sound of Eleanor Vance breathing heavily. Her face went from shock to incandescent rage. Her jaw muscles clenched. "You are fired," she hissed, her eyes narrowing into slits. "You are not just fired. I will make sure you are blacklisted from every decent restaurant in this city. How dare you speak to me that way? Do you know who I am?" I met her gaze, and for the first time I didn't feel fear. I felt calm, almost peaceful. "I know exactly who you are, Ms. Vance. You are a wealthy woman who has forgotten how to be a person. And yes, you can fire me. You can try to blacklist me. But what you cannot do is tell me I am wrong. I am a single father working 2 jobs to provide for my daughter. I have far more to lose than you, and yet I am the one telling you that your behavior is unacceptable. I will not tolerate being treated like a slave, and neither should anyone else here." One of her associates, the nervous Mr. Henderson, quickly pushed his chair back. "Eleanor, let's just calm down." She cut him off with a glare that sent him shrinking back. "Stay out of this, Robert. This pathetic little man needs a lesson." I reached into my pocket, pulled out the small order pad I carried, and deliberately, slowly, tore the sheet for table 5 off the pad. I placed the pad and the pen on the table. You will not be receiving your main course from me. You will not be tipping me, and I will not be serving you for the rest of the evening. I am resigning my position, effective immediately, because my dignity is not for sale." I took a step back, looked over the entire dining room, and then I spoke one last final time, loud enough for everyone to hear. "Please treat the people who serve you with respect. They are working hard. They deserve your kindness, not your contempt." Then I turned my back on Eleanor Vance and walked away. I didn't rush. I walked slowly, deliberately, straight to the locker room. I could hear Julian's frantic, apologetic voice starting up behind me, a low, desperate drone. I stripped off my vest and tie, stuffed them into my locker, and grabbed my coat. As I walked out the back entrance, past the bewildered kitchen staff, the adrenaline started to crash. What did I just do, I thought? I just threw away one of my best paying jobs over a single asparagus spear. Fear, sharp and cold, hit me. Lily, rent, tuition. The next day, I didn't get a call from Julian. I got an email. It was short and formal, confirming my resignation, but with a strange PS. "The owner will be in contact." I braced myself for the blacklist. I spent the day updating my resume, trying to figure out how to explain why I'd left the Pinnacle after only 6 months. That evening, my phone rang. The display showed an unfamiliar private number. It was the owner of the Pinnacle, a man named Mr. Harrington, who I had met once. He didn't sound angry, he sounded thoughtful. "Alex," he said, "I've reviewed the security footage. I've spoken to Julian, the entire staff, and even the buses. And I spoke to Eleanor Vance's associates, who called me later to apologize for her behavior. I waited for the axe to fall. I need to know, why did you do it? Why risk everything?" I told him the truth. "Mr. Harrington, I'm a single father. My daughter looks up to me. If I let someone treat me like dirt just because they have more money, I'm teaching her that money is more important than self-respect." I couldn't do it. I needed the job, but I needed my dignity more. There was a long silence on the line. Then Mr. Harrington laughed, a deep, booming laugh. "You're a remarkable young man, Alex, and you were absolutely right. Julian and the entire staff have been asking me to do something about her for years, but no one had the courage. She's a huge account, a whale as they call her, but she's also poison to my staff and my restaurant's environment. That night, she didn't just leave. She tried to demand that I fire Julian and the entire kitchen staff for allowing you to insult her. I told her no. I told her she was no longer welcome at the Pinnacle. I told her that my staff's well-being is more important than her patronage." I was speechless. You banned a billionaire." "I did," he confirmed. "And I'm not firing you. I'm promoting you. The staff needs a strong leader, someone who understands what it means to stand up for your team. I want you to come back as the new assistant manager. You won't be serving tables. You'll be managing the floor, ensuring my staff is treated with respect by every single customer who walks through that door." He offered me a salary that was nearly double what I was making with both my jobs combined. I accepted, tears welling up in my eyes. It wasn't just the money, it was the vindication. The aftermath was incredible. The entire staff at the Pinnacle was ecstatic. Julian was relieved and grateful, and even he admitted that Vance had been a cancer on the workplace. The story naturally leaked, not in the papers, but on the local social media scene. The waiter who stood up to the billionaire. It became an instant legend. People started coming to the Pinnacle specifically because they'd heard the story and wanted to support a place that valued its people over its profits. Business boomed, and Eleanor Vance, she tried to spread rumors, to call in favors, to have me fired from any future job, but Mr. Harrington's reputation and the sheer absurdity of the asparagus incident protected me. She was the one who ended up looking like the entitled bully she was. And me, I quit my security guard job. I get to tuck Lily in every single night now, and I'm there to make her breakfast every morning. I've even started saving money again. The whole experience taught me the most valuable lesson. Dignity is a non-negotiable asset. It's easy to think that money and power will always win, but sometimes the quiet, firm stand of an exhausted single dad is enough to topple the tyrant. It was a terrifying gamble, but it paid off in a way I could never have imagined. I didn't just save my dignity, I saved my whole future. Like this video if you were on my side and think that no amount of money gives someone the right to treat service workers like trash. Subscribe for more stories like this, where the good guy actually wins for once. And please, share your final thoughts on this whole mess in the comments section. Did Vance deserve to be banned? Did I do the right thing? I'll see you all in the next story.